welcome to the Home Alchemist. I'm Dr. Jaime Rabin, and in this series, I will share with you real life examples of the homes and the lives that I've helped transform using the most powerful and practical Feng Shui strategies and intentional home design. And if you're wondering what home design has anything to do with transforming one's life, I am here as a home transformation expert to tell you that your environment has a profound impact on your life. That which you see, hear, and experience every day in your home can influence your thoughts, your behaviors, and ultimately how you're living your life. So I'm really excited to share with you these case studies of my clients. But before we do, I want to first tell you a little bit about my clients. So I consider my clients what I call illuministas. Illuministas are these independent, strong women that shine their light generously and authentically in the world. Now, they come to me because maybe they've been giving a little too much of that light and they need to reclaim it for themselves. And they can do that by focusing on what they want and how they want to live and using the home as a tool to help them do that. Also, often they do want to live in a place that expresses who they are so they can be reminded of who that is. And they also, happen to like aesthetics as well often. And then also sometimes these women are already shining their light very brightly in the world, but they need my help in a particular area or to take things to the next level. So today I'm going to share with you a case study of an illuminista who I went to her home because she had experienced a lot of trauma in her life, in her past, with her family. She has a beautiful, beautiful family, and they are very close. It's three of them. So it's her and her husband and their son. And their son was born, 20 years prior, around 20 years, with a growth disorder. And that was obviously unexpected to them. They were living in the same home at the time, and there was a lot of emotions around in the time, and also just a lot of worry and concern for the health of their child. They lived with that for many years, and then her husband ended up having a heart condition, and that was also very sudden. So it is like they've experienced a lot of these sudden traumatic experiences that then they've lived with the after effects for very many years. So when I went into the home was cozy and comfortable, and it was a smaller space. But the interesting thing is that they had a lot of extra space in this garage, but it's really like a studio that was attached to the garage. So they had the garage space and the studio, both of which were not being used for vehicles or anything like that. They were just holding a lot of storage. And so the family and my client was living in this small part of their property, really. But it was cozy and comfortable and lovely, and it had all of the things that made them feel safe. And a lot of those things, there was, accumulation of the things that they've enjoyed over the many years. And when I walked through the home, I did notice that it felt like there was a lot of protective energy. And it was the image I got, because sometimes when I go through people's homes, I get insights, like intuitive insights. That's the only way I can describe it. It's almost as if the space in the home is communicating with me about what will help the inhabitants and my client, what will help them to shine their light more brightly. And so the insight that I got was I saw this family of three just holding each other in this small part of the property. not wanting to expand beyond that because of fears of another shoe dropping, or, you know, just of what could happen if they actually expand, that they had built this comfortable layer around themselves. But my client was ready to expand. She was also ready to be seen out in the world more, just to really be seen more powerfully in the world. And so in order for that to happen, I just knew that they needed to expand beyond the small area. And that didn't mean that they needed to like build a whole extension. They had a studio and a garage that at that point was just filled with so many items that they even told me that they didn't need anymore, that it had just grown over time. And not surprisingly, because a lot of my clients are givers, they do shine their light brightly in the world, but because of that, there's many people that receive that light. And so in perfect alignment with that, you know, imagery, is that my client would hold a lot of items for other people that also accumulated through the years. So there they were, they had all these things in the garage. They had a lot of medical equipment and gear that was once used to support their son, who was now flourishing and getting ready to go off to college. And so the first thing we talked about was what they would do in this expanded space, and really spent the time not only creating the plan of like what could happen in this space and where things would go in this new area that they could really like live into, but also really connecting them to the emotions around what it could mean. And so what that looks like, for instance, is another insight that I got was I saw my client writing. And when I saw it come through, I thought, oh, is she, you know, journaling? Is that what's going on? And so I shared it. We, you know, had a conversation about it, and she told me that she, like, being a writer was one of her highest aspirations, and that writing was a passion of hers, and that she saw herself one day writing a book. And so what we talked about was how that studio space could be used to foster her creativity, where the desk could go, where a chair could go for her to read, or, you know, sit with a little laptop table and write. And we ideated so that there could be a motivation for her to eventually make these changes. And then also to work with the family. We talked about how the garage, when cleared out, could really be a workspace for her husband to be able to engineer and tinker with all of the things that one engineers and tinkers with, because that's what he loved to do. So they were just, again, so in a protective mode of their family that they individually hadn't created the space to really explore their own creative expression. And their son, who they had cared so deeply about and cared for throughout the years and protected, was now going off on his own. So what a perfect time for them to spread their wings. And I'll just, you know, make a little note, because I don't think I touched on this before. The husband is also doing very well after the heart issue that he had. But they were all ready. They were ready to move to a new opportunity. They were ready to move on from the past. And so in addition to helping them, you know, figure out how they could use their extended space, we also worked on their current space and worked on letting go of whatever was like holding them into the past, getting rid of some of the things there, and also shifting some things around. So I'll give you an example of what that looks like. So in the office that my client worked in, every day, you know, she worked at her desk every day. She was staring, and I see this so often with especially women, but really all people that are working from home, often this happens. She was like shoved into the back of a room where the desk was up against a wall. So she was facing the wall when she was working. And she had no view of the open room. She couldn't see out the lovely window to her side. So we turned around the desk, we repositioned it, we got rid of a lot of the items in the room and decluttered, because I knew that she wanted to share herself and be seen in the world. And so hiding herself in the corner, putting baby in the corner, was not going to help her to shine her light or be seen in the way that she wanted to be seen. So once we moved the desk so that her back was to the wall, right? And the desk was in front of her. And then now she saw the whole room and she could see the door. So she had command. In Feng Shui, that's called the command position. She was able to see people coming in. It wasn't like they were coming in and they were met with her back. They were coming in now that we moved it, they're coming in and they were met with her in her full expression. So that was very powerful for her. And I've spoken to her since then, and I think that was, aside from, connecting to the motivation of what she can do in the garage and studio, just moving her out of the corner and showing her how she could take up more space in the room and in her home and in her life, that was extremely powerful for her. And then the other thing that we did, to round out the whole, we went through every room, but what we did to round out the experience, I just want to share with you the key points, is that we did a space and energy clearing, which I do with all my clients. But this one was really special because I knew that she needed to release a lot of the energetic attachment to the home. As much as she loved her home, because again, she felt like comfortable and safe, she needed to release the attachment to what had happened throughout the many years that was unexpected and took her in directions that she hadn't anticipated. And there was beauty in how her and her family, they managed through it together. And she can honor it. She was able to honor it, but then it was also time to let that go. By letting go of the hurt and the pain that happened within the home, and again, honoring it, she was able to let it dissolve so that she was able to see through it. So she was able to see what was ahead. And that was I think the final thing that really helped shift the energy in the home. And I wanted to share that with you because there's a few themes in there that we can all take a lesson from. And the first one is, let's see, the first one I want to share. Yeah, it's when we're keeping ourselves small to stay safe. I totally resonate with this. I spent many years behind the scenes at some wellness organizations, helping big names like Deepak Chopra, to do their magic in the world. And more recently, I have been really focusing on my own magic. And that has been a shift for me. It's been a beautiful shift, but it's also taken me being able to hold space for myself, hold space for me to be bigger and more expansive, just like my client. And so I've had to show up differently in my home too. I've had to, in Feng Shui, there are different areas of the home associated with what's called the Bagua. And the Bagua, the different areas of the home, show you which areas of the home align with different areas of one's life. One of the areas is called fame and reputation and recognition. And that area of my home was actually pretty neglected. Let's just say that. I obviously give a lot of attention to most areas of my home, so I can't say that it was had no attention, but like I did not activate it specifically for this purpose. Like, and activate it means like add intentional design or pay attention to what that area was expressing, if you will. So that area was by a washer dryer. It was like hidden in a corner, and it wasn't an area that was like out in the forefront. See the alignment between where I was in my life, very functional, but not necessarily out for its own, like to be seen in its own light. And so what I did was I added like beautiful green curtains, and I bought this stained glass phoenix, which made me feel like I was, you know, a phoenix rising, expressing herself in the world. And I put that over the window with these beautiful green curtains. And now when I step into the space, that is the first thing I see. And it reminds me how to show up bigger and brighter in the world. And, you know, that's one theme you can take from this case study. The other thing is how important it is to honor the beautiful moments, even if they've been painful, that have happened in our homes, that maybe have brought us closer with our families or have provided us some sense of, I don't want to say like comfort, because painful times are not comfortable, but when we go through painful times, we give ourselves permission to stay protected, right? And so we can honor those moments in our lives when we've had to deal with painful or traumatic experiences, not bypassing them, not making light of them, but saying to ourselves, okay, I'm going to honor them and I'm ready to release them. And I'm going to mark that by making some sort of home transformation. And in my client's case, it would be expanding also into this garage studio area, because in addition to being seen in her home, that will be a representation of her moving beyond the safe confines of the smaller space that they were living in. Well, I hope that you enjoyed my little storytelling today. I plan to share more of these stories regularly with you, so I hope that you subscribe and tune in and like it and all the things that you do with these channels. And I am always here if you yourself need support in transforming your life by transforming your home. And have a wonderful day.